Hello. I am Bex Baker, your host. I am an adopter of 2. I discovered very early on in our first adoption that there were no Christian podcasts set within the UK context discussing all things fostering and adoption. On this podcast, we are going to talk to people across the 4 nations of the UK about their stories in relation to all things fostering, adoption, kinship care, supported lodgings, all things vulnerable children. Every story is unique and beautiful as to how God is working in the care system across the UK. If you would like to share your story, please contact us via email or DM us on Instagram. This is Families Made Differently.
Hello and welcome to Families Made Differently. I am joined with Sarah today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sarah. Don't know what to say to introduce myself, really. I was going to tell you my age then, but is that relevant?
I mean, you can if you want.
I'm 39, soon to be 40. I grew up in Birmingham. I lived abroad in Switzerland and South Africa, and I live in Scotland. I have a husband called Kennedy, and I have a son called Zion.
So you are in the process of investigating adoption and fostering and that kind of bit of the world. Our bit of the world. Families Made Differently's bit of the world. What has led you to that point?
I guess since I was young, I've always sort of felt like it was something that I guess interested me or intrigued me. My auntie fostered since I was quite young, so she always had lots of different children coming in and out of her home, and then really close family friends of mine had fostered also along with their children that they had. So yeah, it's always been something that I've sort of seen and witnessed. Yeah, it's something that has always sort of grabbed my attention, I suppose, and just sort of looked at the whys and the hows and the whens and those kinds of questions. Yeah, ever since I was young, really.
You've had a lot of experiencing fostering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So last month we spoke to Tamsin from Home for Good and Safe Families, and she mentioned the Foundations course that they run. And at the start of 2025, you went on it. Why did you decide to attend it?
I think given how I've felt pretty much all my life about the world of fostering and adopting and supported lodging, it's something that I really wanted to explore, and both me and my husband felt that we were now in the right sort of time where we're living, where we're settled, that kind of thing, that we could at the very least explore what it would look like, what it means to our family. We felt that both of us had sort of had, I guess, separate discussions or conversations or experiences with other people about that area, but we'd never actually done anything together, as it were. So we'd not done any training or been on any courses or whatever, and we really felt that was quite important for us to sort of do it together, because we might not be having the same conversations with other people, and so I might assume that he knew something about it and vice versa, and that's not fair. Yeah, so that was kind of our biggest decision as to why we wanted
to join up your thinking.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
The Foundations course covers 3 core areas: adoption, fostering and supported lodgings. Starting the course, what area were you leaning towards wanting to be involved in?
I think before we'd even started the course, we'd sort of decided that it was probably best if we ruled out supported lodgings, and that was confirmed more so from when we actually did the Foundations course, and particularly because of our little boy that we have. He's quite young, and anybody who's in supported lodgings are definitely a lot older teenagers, and we just felt for our current family circumstance and situation that it would probably be best to rule that out. And so yeah, we were more intrigued to sort of explore more about the adoption and fostering elements of it. Yeah.
But you were leaning towards one more than the other in regards to adoption or fostering?
No, we
were kind of
weren't.
just like exploring both of those as your main focus.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And having completed the course, is that still, have you lent towards one of those more? Or are you still kind of sitting between them? And
I think we have lent more towards adoption, and probably if we didn't have our little boy, fostering would probably suit us quite well. But yeah, I mean he's desperate for a brother or a sister, and that's not our reason for wanting to adopt or foster, but we do have to consider how he feels in it as well. And I think, I mean, we've spoken at length about this, and we've spoken to him about it as age appropriate conversations with him about, you know, what it would look like and things, and we think that he would find it particularly difficult, for example, if a child would come for a short period of time and then leave again.
So the permanency of adoption
would suit
his best interest.
I think so, yeah. So that's kind of why we would sort sort of veer towards adoption rather than fostering at this point in our lives. Perhaps when he's older and we're older, perhaps we would explore fostering more in depth. And certainly supported lodgings as well, but for now we're definitely sort of veering more towards adoption.
Very good.
Yeah.
What was the most surprising thing you learnt on the course?
Oh goodness, there were so many statistics and facts and things that sort of blew your mind, and it was a lot of information to take in, and you just felt like you were being sort of bombarded. I like really good information, but you almost had to prepare yourself for the information that you were going to receive. There was one particular statistics that I was, I don't know if surprised probably is even a good word, like probably more like horrified by, that one child comes into care every 14 minutes. And that statistic absolutely blew my mind. I didn't even believe it was real. I went away and did research and looked into it more because I couldn't believe that was true. And that just sort of confirmed even more about us and our journey, and like what I've always felt is something that I personally have always wanted to do, and thankfully my husband has as well, but it's just the right timing and when that will work for us. But yeah, that really took me aback, if I'm honest, and yeah, really did shock me.
Yeah, it is a shocking one.
Yeah.
What was your biggest take home?
That we've got a lot to learn. Our biggest take home is that we need to pray more. We need to have more conversations with each other and other people. We need to do more research. What I found really good about the course is the sort of support that you received afterwards as well. So there's a lady who has been sort of our person, in inverted commas, if you want to sort of connect with us and chat with us. Very sort of unofficially, like no like pressure or anything like that, but just occasionally just popping us an email, how are you getting on? In fact, she emailed me 2 weeks ago and I've yet to reply, so I need to do that. But just checking in and seeing how we're going in on the process, and that was really great to know that we've got that support. There are organisations out there, good organisations, good Christian organisations that are willing to help support the process, so that was really good. But yeah, it's not going to be a quick journey for sure. And there's lots to consider, lots to think about. That probably was our biggest take home, is that it's not a decision to be made lightly, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's like when you have any children, when we had our Zion and we decided to have him, that wasn't a decision that we made lightly either. In that way, we just need to prayerfully consider more about where this journey will take us and our family. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's great that Home for Good have given you a link in person to keep supporting you and answering any follow-up questions, because obviously we stew these things. We don't just like process them instantly and know everything we need to know.
Yeah, even just something simple, like I was just asking the lady who we're in touch with, does she know of any books or anything that like we could purchase to maybe start to like talk to Zion a little bit more about it, or just to have them about in the house about what different families look like and things. And she was able to give me a couple of recommendations or point me in the right directions of things. Yeah, and that was great. And also sort of asking her opinions on council versus agencies, and she was able to send me a link to, I guess, a map that would show us
for the area.
For the area that we're in, the councils and the agencies around our area. So just to sort of start to have a little look and think about that kind of thing. So yeah, that was really great. Yeah. Really helpful.
Yeah, because there's actually a crazy statistic of inquiries about fostering and like fosterers that actually get approved, and I think it's like under 10% that inquire end up. I might be wrong. I might be just making up that statistic, but
no,
I think
it is
like
I've heard something
really small.
Yeah.
So it's really good that they have that in place, I guess, from the foundations course, because like we've had a similar experience from their inquiries team. Like we get regular emails. Again, I probably haven't replied to my person who messaged me going, "Hey, how are things? Hope you're settled." Did you enjoy it, and did you find it worthwhile?
Yes. Absolutely. Like, I don't really...
I mean, if there's nothing to add, there's nothing to add.
Yeah, but for all the reasons I've sort of already said, absolutely. Like, it's definitely helped promote conversations between myself and Kennedy. Sort of, I guess, just looking at it in a different way that we've probably never looked at it before. And just to be educated a little bit more is definitely worthwhile. I'm all for everyone doing this course, always.
Great. Did they do it from a Christian perspective at all? Just out of curiosity.
There was definitely a Christian element to it. And they didn't shy away from that, which I quite liked, because, you know, they are a Christian organisation and they sort of made that clear in the beginning, but it did feel very inclusive even if you didn't want to be a part of that, because there was every time we did the course, I can't remember if it was about 6 or 7 weeks, it might have been shorter than that, once an evening on Zoom for 6 or 7 weeks. And then part of the course we would break out and do like a little Bible study for about 10-15 minutes, and there was always a way in which they were able to link it to the information that they were giving us in that particular week, which was really helpful and really a different way to also look at scripture and stuff, I guess, which also promoted good conversations. There was an opportunity to discuss and ask questions or input a little bit. So yeah, that aspect of it I really appreciated it as a Christian. It was something that was really helpful, and again just reaffirmed always what I've been thinking. And the verse that has always stuck with me is like, look after the widows and look after the orphans, and that's something that I've sort of, it's been a running theme throughout my life that I can't seem to get away from that particular verse. It always rears its head somewhere or other. It was great that they did it in that sort of Christian perspective.
Has anything as of yet come out of you doing the foundations course?
Like I said, lots of conversations between my husband and I. Good conversations. And we're still talking and praying about what to do. We definitely don't have a definitive answer yet. And yeah, I guess to share something a bit personal, like my husband does want more biological children and I don't. And so there's a lot to unpack there, and there's a lot to pray about and deal with and mull through. And like I said again before, like, we're not in a rush to make this decision, and we want to be sure that we're doing what God wants us to do and in God's timing as well. So yeah, it is a challenge, I guess, especially not that we disagree necessarily, because we're both sure that we do want to be a part of the system in a positive way. It's just what that will look like and when that will sort of happen. So
I feel like you might have answered this, but what is your hope for the future in your involvement in the realm and world of vulnerable children?
That I have one. We as a family have some sort of involvement. I feel like to an element or a degree we are already involved, and that's to do with, I guess, friendships and relationships with people that we already have who foster or adopt, and the relationships that we build with them as families or with their children. So there's definitely an element that we feel like we are, but not as much as I feel like God wants us to be. So yeah, I guess my hope is that we can come to a decision together as a family about what direction we move, whether that be foster, adopting, or the other thing that came out of the foundations course was like a supporting role that you can have, not necessarily foster, adopted or supported lodgings, but a supporting role that you can have with people locally. So you can,
is this the safe families
that's
element?
the safe families element. So you can link up with people who live in your area, I suppose, and you can support them. So you can help either be like a respite carer, or
they prevent family breakdown and stuff pre-care connection,
and just come alongside people and just sort of help in that way. So you know, it might be that, I don't know. So yeah, I think just time will tell, I suppose.
And you kind of hinted to it there. Do you feel God's calling you into it?
I do, yeah.
Does Kennedy?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I can't say for certainty that he does. I've been praying that God would give him clarity on that. And you know what? I also have come to the place where it's okay if it's not, because if it's not, then we need to sort of reconnect and pray into it together, because we both need to be on the same page, and I don't think we're married by accident, and I don't think that we are on this journey on accident, and I don't think God has given me a passion for something and him not a passion for something, or vice versa, and I feel like they will be united. It's just how and when kind of thing. So I think at some point that will happen. So I'm not worried, because I know God's got it. So I'm just sort of chilled out about it, I guess.
Great, love that.
That's been a journey in itself, because I wasn't like some months ago, and so I've come to that point more recently where it's okay. Yeah, you know, it's okay.
And probably the honest conversations coming out of the course has probably aided and helped that, has it?
100%, because they needed to happen, and being part of the foundations course has not necessarily expedited it, but it's helped like navigate, I guess, the direction of conversation, I suppose.
It also gives you some clear topic to talk about.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we're not just sort of going around in circles.
Yeah.
It was interesting because at the end of every course it would be sort of like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I want to be in my bed. But every time there was always something that we would want to talk about, and sometimes we would stay up till midnight just chatting through whatever it is that we've learnt that day, or whatever come to mind that we want to discuss. And sometimes those are really hard conversations, but other times they were really good conversations. And even the hard conversations can be good conversations. Like, as tired as you are, it's good to have those and good to set aside that time. And even if you're too tired in that moment, to put a pin in it and be like, right, we will come back to this at some point.
Yeah.
Because this is not a good idea, because we're like falling asleep while trying to have a really in-depth conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely did open up some doors for good conversations. Yeah.
Well, that's the end of my questions. Is there anything you'd like to add before we finish?
I just want to encourage whoever is listening to do the foundations course. Honestly, I feel like everybody should do it, even if
I feel like I should do it. Like, I haven't done it.
Oh
like...
my gosh, no, you absolutely should do it. Absolutely.
I've adopted children and I've never done it. We only discovered Home for Good once we were already in, like, well and truly in the system.
Sure.
So that's kind of why we never did it.
Yeah, but I also feel like anybody, so if we end up going down this journey of fostering or adopting, I'm going to strongly recommend to my family and close friends to do the course.
Oh,
so not even if they're going to adopt or foster themselves, but I think just the knowledge and just to get a broader understanding, and it's not just us telling them that this is happening in the world, or I'm sure there are other courses that they can take to help support us, but I feel like this is quite important. It's really full of good information, and I'm glad I've done it, because I think even if we don't, then it's given me tools to help support people who I already know, like yourself, that have adopted or fostered or whatever the case may be, that I may not necessarily be so conscious about it, but I'm of like the changes that it's made in me from I don't know if I'm making any sense, but from the information that I've learned, that just subconsciously it sort of helps me look at the bigger picture, I guess, and not just look at what that child's doing in that moment.
Yeah, like not just the presenting behaviour.
Absolutely,
it's like,
things like that, examples like that.
What is the reason behind this behaviour, or the trauma behind the behaviour.
Yeah, and it's helped me with my work. I work with children and from varying backgrounds, and it's definitely helped me in that area as well. I'd love it to be like a sermon series at church. I'm pretty sure it could be sort of condensed into like a 2-week sermon series or whatever, and you know, I think, or something like that, or something that could be adapted for sort of a Sunday morning. I mean, particularly in certain churches where lots of people foster or adopt, there's lots of families. I think it could be helpful for the church as a whole
to be like trauma informed.
Absolutely.
And just also know how they can support those within their congregation
for sure, because if we think about the reality of, I guess, life as a Christian, and we want to support each other when we want to be in community with each other, and I feel like we say that so easily and it rolls off our tongue, but what does it actually look like, and what does it actually mean? It's helpful in, I guess, the sphere of like adoption, fostering and supported lodging, but it's helpful in life in general as well. How can we be better people to our people? How can we support people who are in our lives, and those who may not be in our lives yet but may come along? Or
great. Well, that is us. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
No worries.
Not as nerve-wracking as I thought it was going to be.
Great. Love that.
Please make sure that you follow us on Instagram and turn on your notifications wherever you listen to your podcasts. Families Made Differently releases a new episode on the first Friday of each month at 9 a.m. Please comment on the podcast or slide into our DMs with your favourite bits, what inspired you, any questions you have, or if you too would like to be involved. We really appreciate your listening ears and continued support. This was Families Made Differently, the podcast designed to share stories from Christians in the UK whose lives and families have been shaped by fostering and adoption.